Have you ever been reading the Bible and stumbled upon a reference to a book you've never heard of? Like in Joshua chapter 10, when the sun stands still, it says, "Is this not written in the book of Jasher?" Or in 2 Samuel chapter 1, when David mourns Saul and Jonathan, it mentions he commanded the song of the bow be taught, adding, "Indeed, it is written in the book of Jasher." So, what is this mysterious book? The book of Jasher, or Sefer Hayasar in Hebrew, which translates to the book of the upright or the book of the just man, is one of several non-canonical books mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. These are books that were known and likely respected at the time the biblical texts were being written, but they weren't ultimately included in the final collection of scriptures that make up our Old Testament. So, where did it go? Why isn't it in our Bibles today? The original book of Jasher mentioned in the Bible is considered lost to history. We don't have the ancient manuscript that Joshua and the author of Samuel were referencing. It's a fascinating piece of history that has simply vanished over the millennia. But wait, if you search online, you can actually find and buy something called the Book of Jasher. What's that all about? Well, the book we have today is a bit of a historical puzzle. It first appeared in Hebrew in Venice in 1625. The publisher claimed it was a copy of the long-lost ancient text, discovered in Jerusalem during the Roman destruction in 70 AD and preserved through a line of rabbis. However, most scholars today are skeptical of this claim. They believe this version is likely a much later work, probably written in the Middle Ages, perhaps in the 12th century in Spain. The writing style, the language, and some of the details within it seem to point to a medieval origin rather than an ancient one. It's more likely a collection of Jewish legends and stories, known as midrash, that expands on the biblical narratives. So, what's inside this 18th century version of Jasher? It essentially retells the biblical story from the creation of Adam and Eve all the way to the time of the Judges, just before the conquest of Canaan. It fills in a lot of gaps and adds incredible detail to familiar stories. For example, it gives a much more extensive account of Abraham's early life, his clashes with Nimrod, and his father Terah's involvement in idol worship. It expands on the story of Joseph in Egypt and provides a detailed narrative of the Israelites' early wars against the Canaanites, even before Moses leads them out of Egypt. While it's not considered sacred scripture, it's an incredibly interesting read. It offers a glimpse into how people in later periods interpreted and expanded upon the biblical stories. It reads like a historical novel, full of drama, action, and detailed character development. It shows the richness of Jewish tradition and the desire to understand the biblical heroes on a deeper, more personal level. For instance, the book details Enoch's reign as a righteous king over the whole earth, teaching wisdom and the knowledge of God. It describes the fallen angels in greater detail than Genesis, and it even gives a backstory to the magicians who opposed Moses in Pharaoh's court. These stories were likely part of a vibrant oral and written tradition that circulated for centuries. So, should you read it? Absolutely, but with the right perspective. Don't read it as a lost book of the Bible, but rather as a fascinating piece of historical Jewish literature. It's a window into another time, a companion piece that adds color and depth to the biblical world. It can help you imagine the events of Genesis and Exodus in a new light. Think of it this way: the Bible gives us the inspired, authoritative account. The book of Jasher, the one we have today, is like the historical fan fiction of its day, written by people who deeply loved these stories and wanted to explore every corner of them. It's a testament to the enduring power of the biblical narrative and the human desire to connect with our ancient past. So, the next time you see that reference in Joshua or to Samuel, you'll know the story behind the story. The original may be lost, but its echo reminds us that the biblical world was even richer and more complex than we might imagine. Thanks for watching, and if you found this interesting, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into fascinating historical and biblical topics. See you next time.